Good morning, everyone. This is Gina coming to you from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and welcome to the first class of the month, actually. No, it's the second class. I'm sorry. I thought this was the first time. Today is the March Technique class. The March Technique class, we are featuring cards that float. So they have some type of mechanism in them that floats. So I thought that would be something fun for all of us today. So when you guys get on, say hello. Tell me what's new in your world. I see we're just popping up here. Oh, let's turn that volume down. Hello. I was reading, Kimberly, you're on already, and oh my gosh, I'm glad to hear that you are safe. They had tornadoes come through in northern Indiana, so quite scary what we've seen with some of the weather. It'll be an interesting spring, I think. Here in Wisconsin, we are kind of going up and down on the scale, like, you know, from 70 to 40 to possible snow. I don't know what's coming. Good morning, Polly. So it's crazy what is happening. It's spring though, so we never know what we get. I saw my first signs of robins, and I hear the black-winged or red-winged blackbirds are also a sign of spring. So there's hope, so hold on, people. It's coming. We just got to get through a crazy yet month of March. So in like a lion, out like a lamb, I'm hoping. So hello, Jean. So lots of cool stuff for you today. One thing I want to quick talk about, I know I've been talking a lot about it, but I'm super, super excited. So this week, actually, Christine and the gang are headed to Long Beach, California right now. They're headed to Onstage. Stampin' Up! Hosts a convention every year for demonstrators, and we get together, we get to see the new catalog, hear new techniques, do some business stuff. Hello, Kelly. And you know, just bond with an amazing group of people that are like-minded. So they're off to that, and I didn't want to boo-hoo by myself going, I couldn't go this year, so I didn't want to be sad. So I thought, well, if they're going to be gone and having a great time, those of us who can't be there, thought, you know, let's have a great time here in the Hive. So I am hosting an event. It's called Staged in the Hive this Saturday. Hopefully everyone can make it with the weather. Like I said, I don't know what's going on, but we are Hawaiian themed for all of this. And so it'll be plenty warm here. I encourage you to dress in your Hawaiian gear if you've got any. It's optional. You don't have to, but if you've got something fun to go with our theme, please wear it. So this event is going to be hosted both in person, so in person this Saturday, and I will also be doing the live version of this, just the cards, but we'll have some fun along the way. Online March 25th. So to-go kits are also available, so you don't have to miss out on the fun either. They will ship out next week. So the cost of the event, I still have one opening here in the Hive. So if there is anybody last minute that would like to still join me, I have room for one more person. Maybe we could squeeze in a couple more. It'll get a little tight, but we could make it work. So if you still want to join in person, we'll be here all day on Saturday. So what's happening? We're going to make 8 cards. And let me tell you, these cards are awesome. So I'll flip the camera here and I will show you these cards. So my thoughts on all of this was to create cards that I could teach you something new and take you outside of your box. So we're doing fun folds and we're throwing in a few techniques. So here is card number 1, and it may look pretty simple and basic, but this is called the stained glass technique. And when you put Stella over it, I don't think you guys can see that. Oh, it just glistens. So you're going to color on vellum, and this butterfly looks awesome. And then I thought, I haven't done anything with flip-flaps in a while, and so I brought a flip-flap card in. So this is a spot, it's not quite big enough for a gift card, it's just shy, but you could definitely stick some money in there, or you could put another sentiment here. And this one, we're doing some spritzing, and you probably can't see this online, but we took some alcohol and re-inkers, put it in a spritzer, and we're spritzing. And this one, are you guys ready? Check this out. I did a reel the other day of it. Look at it spin. It's so, so cool. So we have our little Ferris wheel, and it's going round and around. And then we have this kite fold that we'll be doing. And then this one, look at this one. So it looks kind of boring and blah and not so fun, but all the magic happens on the inside. So this is an inside out easel card. Check that out. How cute is that? So excited when I made this one. Okay, and this one, this was the last one. I had to get some DSP that worked for this. So you're doing these different folds and that, and you kind of want paper that doesn't have a lot of direction to it, and that's kind of hard for that. So I thought this would be great DSP. Now everyone, some of these you're going to get a little bit different DSP. This one comes with I think 5 different colors, so everyone's going to get a different color. But it opens, I put a little glue dot to take my photo, but it opens like this. So it folds in like that. This is called a lapel fold, and like that. Isn't that cool? And then we're gonna make a matching envelope to go with this. And then this card, ta-da! So they call this one a theater fold. So it's like this, and we have our 2 soccer fields, because we're gonna have multiple games going on, and it opens up like this. So super cool. So I'm super excited to bring all of this to you guys. So the cost of the event is $100. And for those of, so that is for to-go kits and in person. What we're doing is, for those of you in person, good morning, Carol. You'll make the 8 cards. We're gonna play 6 games of bingo. There'll be prizes and goodies for that. And we are gonna pop on my Facebook page. So you guys will have to go to Glitter and Ink with Gina. And I'm just gonna pop on. We're not doing any demonstrations or anything like that, but we'll do some introductions in the morning and introduce everybody. And then Mary and I have a few other little things kind of up our sleeves. So we're just gonna pop on here and there throughout the day, and I'll be posting pictures and things like that throughout the day. So those of you who are far can feel like you're part of the group, and there'll be questions along the way, so you guys can participate that way by answering questions, and there might be some more prizes along the way. So lots of cool things happening. Now, I know that those of you who will be getting your to-go kits can't participate in the bingo, but that's okay, because what we can do then is there's going to be a little extra surprise in your box. So don't feel like you're missing out on that. And then you're also going to get some product with this. So, and a few other little surprises that I have for you that kind of go with our theme. So lots of great stuff. I also have porch pickup available for $90. So reach out if you guys would love to get your kit. Like I said, I'm going to ship next week, and then in hopes that everybody will have their kit by the 25th. And we can all craft together on the 25th. So that is what's going on with that. So let's get to stamping. So today's technique, like I said before, is floating cards. So let's see which one we're gonna start with here. We'll start with this one. So what's new and exciting in everyone's world this morning? Anything cool? Okay, so for our first card, I used the gears and we did a bandstand. They call it a bandstand, or it's called a, they call it something floating. There's another name that you can use for it, but basically it's a bandstand card. And so our gears look like they're I shouldn't say our gears, our big gear mostly looks like it's kind of floating in thin air. So we actually have a piece of acetate or window sheet back there that it is on. So you're gonna see me using acetate and another little fun, actually I'll show you guys all the cards. How's that sound? I'm super excited about these cards. So, okay, I thought we needed a little bumblebee, but check out our bumblebee. You open it up and he's floating inside. And you can twist this around and twist it around and close it. And then when you open it up, it can spin back and forth. So, super cool. And then these two, I kind of just like having some floating panels here. And we use the acetate too to also do that. And I have to say, doing it this way is so much easier than the very first time I did this technique. Did not use window sheets. I actually, and more specifically for those two cards, used like press and seal, and then you picked up the images and then you put them back on the card. So it was quite a production, and this is so much easier. So what we've got here is a piece of black. And I already put some DSP on the edges already, just because I kind of oopsied and I had these pieces that were sticky that I glued, and didn't want to waste this pretty DSP. So it is scored on both sides. Like that. So it goes like this, front and back. And then you have 2 strips here, and we're going to burnish on our score lines. And I thought about this after the fact. I should have done the card maybe this way instead, and maybe I would have had a longer panel to put more gears on. I mean, it's cute like that, but I wanted to have more gears kind of floating. But all is good. Okay, so choose whichever side you want to be the front or the back. Since I already folded these in, this is going to be my back. And what you do is you line this up at the top here, and then you have your 2 end pieces. And you're going to fold them in. And then make sure that they are flush up here. Okay? And then we'll do that with this other piece. So you got one on the top and one on the bottom. Anyone watching going to on stage? Polly, are you going to on stage? Like I said, I think the girls were leaving at I think their flight went out like at 7 this morning. So they're on their way. Okay, you guys, I got all ahead of myself and put those panels on like that. And they're supposed to go over the top of this. So we're gonna have a little bit different card, or I could put another strip of TSP over the top. So this is how your back should look, okay? And you can choose to use this side, or you can use this side. But your DSP is supposed to hide these little panels here, so I wasn't thinking. So there's that, and I forgot to glue my inside piece in first. Wow. And I forgot it. You guys. Oh my goodness. It was one of those mornings apparently, and I'm forgetting everything. I hope that's not the same with the other cards. All right, so we are going to just see if I've got a piece of white in here that I can steal from Chris. Wow, it's gonna be a tough morning here. All right, we're just gonna go with it here. I'm missing all of my pieces, just about, but you guys will get the gist of it. So, you need a piece of DSP on the inside that's 3 3/4 by 4 1/8. And this piece might be just shy, so we're gonna make it work though. All right. Okay, so pretend this piece here is your DSP. You would have glued this on the inside and added your strips before you put this on, okay? So we're gonna save this for our back piece, and I'll slide a piece of DSP in here when I get home. It's probably sitting right on the table, okay? So we're gonna have 4 pieces here, and 4 of them are slightly smaller than the other ones. Okay, guys, here we go. All right, I thought maybe I just need to turn around and go home and start all over. Let's see, Jean, you're in Cincinnati, and Polly, you won't be on stage this year. I know, it's sad, but I'm hoping next year will be a little bit more centrally located, and I don't know, I'm super excited to hear what is coming for next year. Okay, so you have the 2 bigger rectangles go in the middle, and then you have 4 that will go on these outer ones. But you don't want to put these 2 pieces on quite yet. There we go. And there's that. Okay, now you're gonna put your piece of window sheet on here in the middle. Got a little cat fuzz, I think. And this piece doesn't need to go all the way to the top. You actually want this piece shorter. Now you can adhere your DSP. So these are the larger ones, and they go in the middle. And tear tape might work a little bit easier. It'll keep your window sheet from sliding around as much if you're worried about it sliding. Okay, so now that you have your window sheet on, all of this is done. Now we get to put our gears on. So we have all of these cool gears. And I decided to use our metallic paper on this because I thought that would look neat. So we've got a black one on our earthen metallic, and then we're going to put a gold one on this black one. And then you have just a gold little ring here. And now I'm going to add some dimensionals, but to only half of this gear. So this gear is going to go partially on the acetate or window sheet, whatever you want to call it, and partially off. Okay, dimensionals are going to stay on my hands today. So just like that. This would also be a good one to use your black dimensionals with. So we'll kind of tuck this one up here. And then this ring here, will go like that. Okay. Then we have our little label, and we'll bring in our Memento ink. And then we have all of these fun textures that we're going to stamp on the inside. So I brought in, we've got Reason to Celebrate and Gears and Textures. So we're going to be using these two here and this one, and then sentiments from this set. So I've got celebrations, and then on the inside, make sure it's going on there in the right direction. Hello, Julie. Okay, so we're going to stamp happy birthday. In black. Actually, I'm going to do birthday first. Thank you, Julie. All right, so we got this nice striking black here. Then we are going to bring Mossy Meadow and Crumb Cake in. So the lined piece is what I'm going to use my crumb cake. I'm going to stamp off and put that down here in the bottom corner. And then there's the circular one that I'll bring my mossy meadow. Put that there. I love putting all of these different textures together. So I think I had mentioned on a different live, my very first Stampin' Up stamp set that I got was called Gorgeous Grunge, and this reminds me a lot of that stamp set. Anybody else remember their very first stamp set that they got? So then we have those arrows there. Okay, so this can go on the back. And then our sentiment, we're going to add a little bit of that black and gold twine. Good morning, Miss Karen. So I'm just going to weave this back and forth behind my label. I somehow got a little knot in there. I don't know how that happened. It's going to add some character to my card. Oh, you had to feed your birds, so you're late. Well, hopefully they're going to stock up on food because, like I said, I don't know what this weather is going to be. But I was super excited when I opened my garage yesterday and I found 3 robins just sitting right there in the grass. So I was super excited about that. So there is hope that our spring will be coming. So we've got a little bit of that. We're going to kind of tuck this label between this gold one and our big one here. Like that. And I'm actually going to, I forgot I did this, but I'm going to double pop up this side so that my label actually lays on here a little more even, because this gear here is popped up. There we go. That looks a little bit better. And then we'll finish up with these brass pentagons. So I'll bring in the good card, the one that's not missing any pieces, and this is how it goes. So like I said, you see these gears, they just kind of look like they're floating here. So I thought that would be a really cool idea to do these type of cards. So this is card number 1. Oh, don't say that. So the robins have to be snowed on 3 times, huh? That's the rule of thumb with that. So maybe we'll get it all done this week. Does that count if we get it all done this week? Because I think it's supposed to snow, I don't know, I think every day now through Sunday, but I don't know. Karen, what are our totals around here? I've heard anywhere from 3 inches to 15 inches. So it's one of those kind of storms again. All right, let's bring in our bumblebee. I'm gonna check out our bumblebee here. All right, isn't he cute? I think this might be Christine's next birthday card, so shh. I know that's a ways away yet, but you know, we'll be here before we know it. So the first thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna bring in our stylish shapes. We have our card base open. And I think that's the one I used. Okay, so we're gonna bring in, I better move all these stamps. I'm gonna get ink on my yellow and then we're all gonna be sad. Okay. So we're gonna bring this in. You're gonna place your card base in here. And I'm gonna set it down just a little bit further because I'm not going to add my clear plate all the way across. I'm just going to add my clear plate to where I have my embossed mark or my score line. And we're gonna set this. You could put this down with a little bit with a glue dot or something like that if you want to make sure it doesn't move. So I put my mat on here. We're gonna see how well I can do this on live TV here. My circle is roughly in the center. Pull my card in a little bit. She's got a big hump in hers. I better put a glue dot, right? I don't want to mess up my card. This will keep it from wiggling. Just a little bit as I put that plate on there. Push that through. And because you're going through 2 layers, I don't know if I got that all the way through, but you want to run it through at least twice to make sure that it cuts all the way through. So then you've got 2 circles here that you can use for something else. Oh my goodness, it's 88 by you? Oh my goodness. That's a little bit warm for me. Wow, so glad there's no snow. Yeah, 88, that is, that's quite warm. Okay, our totals are still changing. Oh, Karen. You know, so speaking of the weather and stuff, so I don't remember running, oh yeah, we had delays last year when we came back from on stage. And it seems like every year that there has been on stage, there has been some issue. The layovers that didn't connect, flights that were canceled because of weather, and the girls are coming back on Sunday, and it could be a problem on Sunday. So what I forgot to do is grab an embossing plate, so I'll be right back. And we are going to use the new Daisy embossing folder. Now, the reason why you want to do the Daisy folder after you cut your circle out is because when you run your circle through, after you've embossed, it flattens your embossing. So you want to do your embossing afterwards. So we'll slide that in. You only need your big plate and this gray plate. So these kits you will emboss, or no, I'll be able to do all this for you. Never mind. This will come all done for you. How's that sound? Okay. So we are pieces embossed. It's going to go over the top like this. We're going to bring in our piece of DSP, and that we're going to glue to the bottom here. Oh my goodness, Mary, you had hail damage done to your car. Oh, that's awful. We had some damage to one of our vehicles a couple years ago when we were in the apartment from hail, but we didn't, I guess it didn't do enough damage to file a claim. Oh man. And Karen, you had that happen to you also. Wow. That's just crazy how weather can, you know, destroy things like that. Okay, we've got our ribbon here. And we'll say a few prayers that, Mary, your car gets fixed soon and that the girls make it home safe on Sunday with this crazy weather. They haven't even made it there, and I'm like wanting them to come back so they can share all the goods that happened at On Stage with us. Oh, I just love this folder. It's so pretty. So you're gonna lay that, line it up like so. Oh, no you're not, guys. All right. This is where I get ahead of myself sometimes. I get all excited to put a card together and I forget what I'm doing. I gotta slow it down. All right, don't put your yellow on quite yet. All right, move it out of the way. We're gonna bring in some of the white twine. We'll blame it maybe if I had lack of sleep the last few days between getting ready for the event and working. So this is gonna go in the center. Of your circle. And I'm actually going to do a piece of tear tape on the top and on the bottom and make a sandwich with it, because I don't want my thread to slip out. Okay, so we'll put a piece up here like that. And our other piece like that. And then we're gonna put tear tape over the top. Like I said, I wanna make sure that this sticks really good. Yes, I am very curious to see the new catalog. I think from the sounds of it, Stampin' Up! Has been listening to us, and I think we're gonna see some really great improvements and easier navigation in the catalog. All right, now you can glue on. Words are hard. Math was hard yesterday. Today, words are hard. I don't know. Saturday could be interesting. All right. Now, with this lovely... I'm so excited to use daffodil. I love daffodil, and it's not always in a lot of DSP. So, there we go. That's kind of the mechanism setup. Now, let's see if I can stamp my bees correctly. So your bees, I gotta think about this. They're gonna go, all right, we're gonna stamp one bee and then we'll do the other one. How's that sound? I don't wanna overcomplicate this for myself. I already have today. So, we've got our yellow. So this is the Be My Valentine. And we have Choose Happy. So those are the stamp sets that I'm using with this one. We are going to... Okay, I won't talk about Saturday anymore, but you could come and join me live on the 25th, Karen, and we can have a lot of fun then. How's that sound? So, I believe I stamped off is what I did. Okay, and then we're going to bring in our heart. And make sure that your heart is facing the right direction along with your bee, and I don't want Secret C yet. That would not make a pretty heart. Guys, I'm like a train wreck today. Okay, I'm gonna stamp off twice. I just want a really light balmy blue on here. Like that. Let's put our stripes on our, you could be my Vanna. That would be fabulous. Because I need a Vanna today, you guys. You guys just saw me stick the bumblebee stripes right in my balmy blue. All right. Oy. We're gonna put some stripes on there, and I'm using Secret C. And a pretty cute little face on them. You could totally come and be my Vanna. There we go. So there's our bee. Here's one heart. Now I'm going to take my balmy blue and go full strength with the little loops. So there we go. Then we'll take our glue and we'll adhere this. Now, like I said, I'm stamping separately to make sure that I print my bee on here correctly, or he will not look cool. Okay, so now you're gonna put your bee behind here. You're gonna flip it over, and that's how your bee goes on the other side. So you want your bees so that when they flip over, your bee is stamped correctly and not that he's upside down. That's what I'm going for, guys. Because the first time I did it, I started to print my bee on backwards. And it was interesting. So see, this is gonna go like this and this. So when we go back, I held it off screen. Dot, dot. Put her little face on. And now, and make sure your heart is going in the right direction. Like I said, stamp off twice. Now, your stamp will not line up as good because your heart is kind of going the opposite direction. So just keep that in mind when you're stamping this. But it's okay because in the end, it looks cute. Okay, so now I'm going to add some pop-ups. I'm going to glue. All right. First, I'm going to put my bee in here, like this, and I'm going to add is my bee in there the right way? No, there we go. All right. So we're going to do this. We're going to take a piece of tear tape and have it go across over the top of our twine. Like that, and then we can put some pop-ups on here. So then this will go layered right over the top. And then you can tuck in your heart. Actually, I should probably take the backing off. That will help. I'm gonna put my heart on first. Then we'll put our bee on. And there we go. Look at that. Ta-da! And then you open it. Ta-da! All right. So, our inside of our card. You could stamp it the way that I'm going to stamp it, or you could stamp something just on the lower portion of it, but I had this small enough sentiment here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my card in here, and I'm going to kind of eyeball where my sentiment should go. So hopefully I've got that right. Let's see if I did it. I did do it, guys. So I've got happy birthday, and then there's this cute little bee in here. So I'll take this out. He's gonna be zipping on by on the inside. I think this bee is adorable. So just like that, top and bottom. Then I'll bring in some daffodil, and I'm just gonna take my wink of Stella and dip it. I always dip it on the side, kind of the outside corner here when I do this. And we'll color in our stripes here. I almost started to color in our wings. Can I get a do-over today? Oy, oy, oy. And then make sure you wipe that off. And then I'll go through and color the inside of his wings. Ta-da! Okay, and of course, I'm gonna still up our bee here. Just be careful when you do this that you kind of do one color at a time so you're not transferring colors. So be careful with your face that you don't make your secret C start bleeding. And then I'll just take and do my so there we go. Can adhere our inside. Like that. Ta-da! Oh, I just made it. Look at that. I can see just the tip of my sentiment. And we forgot our bow. Let's do our bow. So it's been a long time since I have made one of these cards. I think the last time I made one of these, I forget what was, I think it was maybe a snowman. Like that. And we'll bring in our rhinestones. Maybe, maybe not. Here they are. So I'm just going to add these to the center of a couple of the flowers. And there we go. Ta-da! Oh, it's so, so cute. All right, we'll slide all this over. I know, this would make a cute little Be Happy stamper card. All right, I think we're ready for the next one. So the next one, if you don't have these flowers at home, you could use any flowers that you have. And the nice thing about this card is that you get two. So, I am bringing in the Words of Beauty for Sentiments. Simply Beauty is what we're going to be using along with the dies. So, you're going to have a piece of window sheet here. I keep calling it acetate because that's what it used to be called. And now they've changed it to window sheets. Okay. So when you get these kits, you will get just a fresh freezer strip. And like I said, you can use any flowers that you want, that you have at home. And you'll get a strip of the soft sea foam. To cut some leaves. So we have our big flower here, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but this flower stand actually has some holes in it, which is kind of a nice feature. I wondered why they had done that, but it's actually to help the stamp release from your block a little bit easier. So that's nice. Those little air holes definitely help with a larger stamp like this. So we're going to bring in our Blackberry Bliss. And ink up our flowers. I missed a spot. And that's why it is always nice too to stamp with our photopolymer on a foam mat, because you will get a cleaner, crisper image. And always make sure that you are pressing down firmly with your stamps. Okay, and then we're going to bring in some Old Olive. And there's 2 leaves in here. So I've got one stamped already. And another reminder for all of you, if you have your stamps that don't want to be sticky anymore, sometimes the photopolymer will lose its stickiness. All you have to do is wash them in a little soapy water and they will be tacky all over again. I had that with my bee stamps. They were not sticking to the blocks when I created this card, and I had to get them washed up and they're like new. So there we go. And we'll stamp our sentiment. And this is to the happy couple. Anyone have any weddings coming up? It's been a while since I've had a wedding. Kind of funny how those things kind of go in cycles. You know, you have all these weddings and showers, and then after the weddings you have babies, and then you kind of go through a dry spell, wait for the next like generation, I guess, to start all over again. And we'll stamp the insides after a bit. Okay, so there we go. We've got that. Now we're going to bring in our piece of window sheet, and we're going to adhere our flowers on here, but they're not going to necessarily be completely on this piece of window sheet. You're going to have some of it come off, and you want to leave. These images are really large, and I have a hard time putting leaves that aren't attached to flowers, you know, like this. I have a hard time doing it like that, but you do want acetate to show. That is, or window sheet to show, because that is what gives you that illusion of it floating, okay? So just keep that in mind. And like I said, I like to use this because it was a bigger stamp set, but you could definitely use a smaller one, and then you'd be able to have a little bit more of your window sheet showing through. So I have about half of this on the card, and I'm going to print my flowers first, and then I will do my leaves. So it's okay that I didn't get that all stamped on there, because we're going to cut some of that off. And you could go with 2 flowers on here and do the rest in leaves if you wanted. Okay. So decide where you want your leaves. And I'm going to put a little bit of a leaf up here in the corner. Like that, and then I think I have to decide which leaf I want, right? I think that's what I'll do. There we go. So now that you have that done, you're going to go through and cut off all of the extra along the edges. And depending what kind of, flower or leaves that you use and how big they are, you could always use some of these partial pieces to fill in spots also. I think that's what I did with that one. I put like a partial leaf. Like I could do that. I have this little tip of a leaf and I could just stick it right there. So if you don't want as much empty space in there, or you didn't use as big of an image, you can use those partial images and stick them in and fill them in. So if you had, let's say, a smaller flower and you wanted to put a little piece here on the end instead of a leaf, you could do that instead. And I'm gonna go through and just make sure that these are glued down pretty good, because now we're going to die cut these. Next thing is I can see how much glue I have with the acetate. Okay, so now that you've done that, everything is glued down. Now we're going to bring in our embossing machine, die cutting machine. Bring our label in, and you could use any label that you want with this. You could do a square, you could do a circle, whichever one that you like. And you're going to place it in the middle. And remember, you have layers here, so you're going to want to run this through a couple times just to make sure that it cuts all the way through. And because this one has, these corners in here, I just wanted to make sure, see, this didn't quite cut all the way through. So when I did mine at home, mine cut through way better than this. And I only had to go through twice. So, Karen, are you still watching? Does she have a little blade here asking for a little razor blade. Oh, I couldn't have made a basket if I tried. All right. Well, we're gonna try this again, but it does not, we're gonna rotate it and try it again, and hopefully I have it lined up right. And see if it will cut differently or cut better. Goodness gracious, it is not cutting. Okay, I'm gonna try a different machine ones and see if one will cut better. Well, I can tell you it did not happen this way at my home. And I did put a piece of cardstock in there as a shim, and it's still not. Maybe I'll put 2 pieces. Hold on. Please hold. All right, no matter what I do, it's not cutting through. I promise you, this did not happen with my trimmer at home. I popped it through twice, and I only had one little corner that didn't cut through all the way. I have 4 pieces of cardstock in there, Karen, and it is not going through. So I am not sure what's going on here, but we're gonna try to cut this out. We're gonna attempt it. And I'm using an intricate die too, so that probably doesn't help, but I didn't think it was gonna be a problem because, like I said, at home mine cut out really nice, so. We're gonna cut this out, and then you guys will look at the card that's all pretty and go ooh ah, and we'll maybe just toss this one in the end. I don't know. Looks pretty beat up here. But this is what happens. Live TV, things happen. They don't always work out the same as they do when you're at home crafting, and you go with it. Okay, so now you have your 2 mats. So this piece here is going to go for 1 card, and we'll bring in our pieces for this one. So we've got the frame here. I'm going to burnish this, and now we'll pop this up. Yeah, I don't know, this is like extra tough window sheet here, but, and it even cut through my shims. So yeah, that's kind of weird. I'm starting to sweat, you guys. I got all worked up about that. But we kept persevering, right? All right, so you have 2 pieces of white. One is smaller than the other. So this one is going to go over the top, and maybe it'll be easier if we just do this. Since today does not seem to be my day, oops, I put a pop-up in a spot that it'll show. So when you put your dimensionals on, put them on where the flowers are, not necessarily where the acetate is. There you go. So that's that. So the cool thing about this is these look like they're kind of floating above your white piece. And then I have a piece of old olive here. So that gets centered, and then this can go onto the card base. Who knew you could get such a workout making cards, right? I just did. All right. So we're going to bring in our labels. I'm missing my thread. It is like, I'm a hot mess today, you guys. Missing my thread. It wasn't with the black and white. So you would wrap that behind. Use some dimensionals. More dimensionals. And there we go. Look at that, look how cool that is. And then we have some purple shimmery gems that we'll put on after we stamp our inside. So we'll bring in our Blackberry Bliss. And our old olive. No, I want black. We're going with black. For our sentiment. So the nice thing you guys get to see is some days when you stamp, they work out great, and other times you stamp and it's just not, doesn't always work out the way that it is planned. And sometimes in a good way too, because then sometimes you create something different along the way. So there we go. Stamped our flower. Now I'm going to just use my Wink of Stella here and color these spots here. There we go. Isn't that pretty? So we'll bring our good card in, because I did not put jibs on those. Go. So that is this one. Makes a really pretty wedding card. Now you're going to take this other piece here and I'm going to emboss it because I did not emboss it, so we'll use this flower embossing folder while we're at it. Okay, here we go. So that's embossed. We've got our blackberry here. You guys. Oh, I feel like I need to redo this whole video. This has not been my day, apparently. Oy, oy, oy. So we forgot the inside. We forgot to cut this piece. Forgot to emboss it, plus all the other card stuff. Oy, oy, oy. But you guys are getting the gist of things and how it works. I promise it's really not as hard as I made it out today. Good morning, Miss Mary. So excited Miss Mary will hopefully still be joining us this weekend. Hopefully no weather will get in her way. Okay, so we've got our olive card base. And I think I forgot my olive ribbon. I might have to have a good cry after this video, you guys. Oy, oy, oy. She's still heading out tomorrow. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so there is that. So like I said, it kind of looks like our flowers are floating above. We'll stamp, "It's your birthday." How's the weather by you today, Miss Mary? Okay, so now we're going to take our labels here and we're just going to offset them a little bit like that. And then what you would do is we have this really pretty scalloped old olive ribbon, and you would put a layer of that along the bottom. And then this just goes on the bottom like that. So there we go. Take my cap back out of the garbage here. So here are our 4 cards for today. Here, we'll put gems on this pretty one. That's all done. You got an inch. Yard was white with grass sticking out. Okay. I'm praying that the weather stays nice. So there we go. We don't have an inside because I forgot the inside. So we made it through. It was a tough one this morning. I apologize for that. I don't know what I can blame it on. Maybe lack of sleep. I don't know. But here are our 4 cards for today. All floating type cards. So we have our 2 flowers. So like I said, this made 2 cards, so that was great. We have our adorable bumblebee who's floating around, and like I said, you can twist this up and twist it and twist it, and then when it opens, he'll spin around and around. So super cute. And then we have our gears kind of floating around here too. So this class is available to order. Cost is $22 plus shipping, and depending if you have other classes or anything like that, we'll reduce the cost of shipping. So let me know if you would like any of these kits. Like I said, Saturday is the big day. I'm super excited. So I do have 1 or 2 spots if anybody else wants to get in yet, and I have plenty of to-go kits available too, so reach out if you guys would like either of those. As always, this is where you guys can find me, Glitter and Ink with Gina. You can email me with any questions, call me, text me, message me on Facebook. Yes, we're gonna blame the weather. Maybe Mother Nature is just, it's messing with my system and totally throwing me off. I don't know, guys. So I apologize for all the little mishaps, but as you can see, we found a way. We worked through it all, and I promise it'll be much easier when you do it at home. So thank you for joining me today. I will see you all a little bit on Saturday. Like I said, make sure you're following my Glitter and Ink page to join in on some of the fun. So have a great few days. Stay warm, everyone. I hope everyone stays dry. We don't get as much snow, and we'll be in hula style on Saturday. So thanks, everyone.